Hello, so continuation from where we stopped last class. Data types. Data types. I explained to you the concept of data type, so I'll just proceed to give you examples. So we have different types of data types, and these data types are called different names on different programming languages. Okay, so don't be surprised if in certain languages you hear whole number, and in other languages you hear integer, int for short. But I'll just go through some generic names. Okay, so we won't be particular about since we are not learning any particular programming language now. So, but at least understand the idea and the principle behind the name of and the purpose for each and every one of these data types which I will list. So I'm using the documentation here, and the first one here is whole number. Whole number is kind of straightforward. Okay, so we have whole numbers. Okay, then we have whole numbers could be divided into two, signed and unsigned. Now I'll explain what that means to you. When you have a number like this, plus 2, we all know that it's the same thing as 2. But we know that minus 2 is not the same thing as 2, obviously. So what I will say now is plus 2 is signed, minus 2 is signed. So when we're dealing with signing numbers, particularly negative numbers, it's important that the sign is there, because we understand implicitly that when you deal with positive numbers, you don't have to put the sign there, but those signs are implied. So if I say 2 is the same thing as plus 2. However, if I want to represent negative numbers, it's not okay for me to use unsigned. So signed whole numbers are whole numbers that carry symbol, whether they're positive or negative. Okay, except that with negative they are mandatory. Now we also have what we call characters, string. Okay, we have string, or let me put it in the order in which I think character. Now character is just a particular character, a particular alphabet or number or symbol. Okay, now in programming you have to understand that even this is a character. This is a character. You might argue that, but it's a whole number. Now as long as we have this quote, okay, immediately it implies that it's a character. Okay, so now what is a string? A string is just array of characters. So if for instance I want to represent an alphabet, a particular symbol, just one symbol, that's a character. But by the time I pull different strings together, different characters together, now I'm having an array of character. That is string. Okay, and so a string will be, for instance, your name. Is that understood? A string will be your name. Now another data type which is very essential is Boolean. It's also called different names in different programming languages. So Boolean essentially is true and false. Now typically these true and false, they have numerical representation. So its numerical representation is 1 and 0. Okay, there are other representation on and off. Do you understand? But essentially Boolean value is true and false. I hope that's okay. Now let's proceed. Now apart from Boolean, another data type, another valid data type is date. Some call it date. Okay, so date, and others call it date time, although they are different. Date time is the combination of both date and time. So if I have a date like this, 2020 06 25, that is a date. Now if I have 2020 06 25 space 10 0000, this is time, so that is date time. Do you understand? So this is very, very important that you understand that. It's very important that you understand that. And let's go to another construct in programming, which is the conditional statement. Sometimes you might hear it being called if-else statement. So these conditional statements are vital, and they form some of the roots of the programming algorithm or programming concept. This is how you build up codes. Do you understand? You build up codes gradually using this concept. Okay, so these if-else statements, they are they are select construct statements, okay? And they are used to check if a particular condition is true, so that you can satisfy the condition, and if that particular condition is false, then you can go ahead and satisfy the alternative course or alternative block of statements. So I'll give you an example. So there is a guy, let's say you, at the school gate, okay, let's say your school, and he wants to gain entrance to the particular school, but there is a condition. The condition is, before you go in, there has to be, now there could be, you can have more than one condition, but here we're just working with, say you have one condition. Number one, you must have completed your school fees. So that's a condition, that you must have paid your school fees, you must have completed your school fees. That is a condition. If you don't satisfy that condition, you'll be allowed entry into the particular school gate. So now, the condition there, if you have completed your school fees, that's the condition. Now, the following course of action is that if you've paid, then you'll be allowed entry. Else, or let me even use something, exit. So the way you write this kind of thing in most programming languages will be like this. If X, or let me say student std then what? Then entry, else exit. Do you understand? So if the student has paid the fee, that's the condition. Then the following course of action is if that particular condition is true. So essentially, conditions, what we look at in conditions are they true or false? So you see where Boolean comes in. Okay, are they true or false? So these are if else statements, and in some languages, if then else statements. Now you can have multiple else if else statements. For instance, I might not only determine the block of code that will be executed by only one condition. I can have multiple conditions, and I might not have only one alternative. I might have multiple alternatives. So in that case, we have if this particular condition, else if we check another condition. I'll give you a very good example of this. If today is Monday, then it is the first working day of the week. Else, if today is Tuesday, it is the second working day of the week. Else, if today is, so it's not just a question of what? Of two options. So when you have multiple options exceeding two, then we now bring into the equation else if statement. Okay? Then we have an alternative to this else if statement, or multiple else if statement. The switch, the case statement. Okay, I sometimes call it switch statement, but many textbooks refer to it as the case statement. Is that okay? So the case statement, the same principle guiding the if else statement is the same principle that guides the case statement. Okay, so I'll give you a very good example. How do you use it? Now you say switch. That's how you start it. You put the condition here. Oh, sorry. You put the expression here. You put the expression there, and within the expression, you now have series of, so switch statement or case statement is good for scenarios where you have multiple alternatives, not just two. So I can now say now that case Monday, if today is Monday, do this. If today is Tuesday, okay, do this. If today is Wednesday, and so on and so forth. And typically at the last part, I usually have default. Okay, that okay, if none of these statements, okay, is met, condition is if none of these values meet this particular expression, satisfy this particular expression, then just say today is no day. You understand? That is how case statement works. So it's similar and identical to else if statement. Okay, it's powerful, but not all the languages support it. So can you survive without the knowledge of case statement? Yes, but if you want to boast as an all-knowing programmer that has all the options and chooses the best, and I think it's worth also knowing this case statement. Okay, then let's move to iteration. Basically, iteration is just you looping something, doing things over and over again. One of the most powerful things, okay, ways by which programming languages help to solve the problem that we have in automation in programs is using what we call iteration. Iteration is also known as loop. Iteration, also known as loop. So basically what we do here is that we repeat a particular statement over and over again. But you see, the thing about it is not just that we repeat that statement in its state. We repeat it in multiple states. Like for instance, I want to repeat 1 to 10. Okay, of course, this is quite straightforward. Say for instance, imagine, escalate this. I want to repeat from 1 to 100, or even 1,000, or 10,000, or 100,000, or a million. Now it starts to make sense to you. Now I can do this by just writing a line. I can say that, okay, x equals to 1. Now for x equal to 1, x is less or equal to, since I know where I'm going to, 1 million, okay, then x plus plus, meaning that increase x by 1, then I can say write x. So you see, this piece of code I've written is going to repeat 1 million times. So you see, that's one of the things that make programming language very powerful. So even though this value is going to change, I can change it by changing the increment parameter, the condition, and the initialization parameter. Okay, so by this we're able to loop in the concept we call loop or iteration. Do you understand? So there are different types of ways by which you can loop. There's while loop, there's the do while loop. Do while, this is while, pardon my handwriting. There's the do while loop, there's the for loop, and there are even other generic loops that we have for specific application, like in the case of loop, for each loop, or in some language, foreign loop, and so on and so forth. Okay, so these are, so we just repeat something over and over and over again. Basically, that is the idea. So now the last part of today's class is this: procedure and functions. Procedure and functions. Procedure and functions. Procedure and functions. So now, what's the difference between procedure and function? Now, with function, with most typical definition, function returns a value. Procedure doesn't return a value. That doesn't mean that it doesn't do something. So what's a function? Function, I can say, procedural functions, basically, they are sets of code that perform a specific task. Okay, so now, so how will I define function? So a function is a chunk of code that performs a specific task and returns a value. Then in the case of procedure, a set of code that performs a specific task but does not return a value. Do you understand? So that would just be the difference between them. Now, you see the way I've used variables in previous classes, I've used loop, I've used if statement. Now, when you, for instance, draw your algorithm and you decide to put all these things in the way they apply together, and you want to put them in one place so that you can say, okay, this does this, this does that. Now, when you put them in that one place, they are chunks of code. They are what we refer to as function. Do you understand? They are what we refer to as function. or procedure. If they don't return value, we call them procedure. Now, they are always in the practice of occasionally accepting parameters. Like, for instance, I can create a chunk of code, programming code, that adds two numbers together, those numbers x and y. So you now see the relevance of variables. X I don't know yet, y I don't know yet. So x and y, so that adds x and y together. So now where I now frame the function or the procedure. Now, for instance, this procedure or this function accepts two values, x and y. We refer to them as parameters. Okay, so x and y are parameters because their values can change and they are being passed into a function or a procedure. So we call that a parameterized function or a parameterized procedure. Is that okay? So you can look for application online. You can look for application just to augment and build up what I have been saying so far. Now let's go to the last part of today's class, which is array. Is that okay? Array. I already explained array to you somewhere at the beginning when I said I try to distinguish between string and characters. Okay, so what are arrays? Now it's important many times that we work with similar values. Say for instance, I want to work with the ages of students in a particular class. So there are 5 of them. So the first one is 10, the second one is 9, the third one is 8, the fourth one is 11, the fifth one is 10. So now I want to work with this age. Now, typically in programming, if it were not for array, I would need to now declare, so for instance, JavaScript, age 1, 10, var, age 2, 9, var, age 3, 8, var, age 4, 11, var, age 5, 10. That will be quite voluminous, although it might appear tidy, but it's voluminous. Why don't I do something like this? Var age list equals 10, 9, 8, 11, 10, and I'll reference it exactly the same way. Do you understand? So now if I want to refer to the first one, the argument will be that but how do I now call 9 or call the first 10 and not call the second 10? This is how you go about it. We use index. So index starts at 0, index 0, 2, 3, 4. So that's why you have to be orderly when you're working with arrays. So when you say index 0, you're talking about the first element. When you say index 1, you're talking about the second element. And here in this case, age list, index 4 will be what? I give you 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. If you said this value is 10, you are right. But don't forget that it's not this 10, it is this 10. Is that okay? So that is how array comes in. It helps us to sort the issue of working with identical data types, okay, with numerous values. Okay, so it doesn't have to be age also. You could be array of the first names of all the students in a particular class, or the first name of all the students that have submitted the assignment. Do you understand? That is the principle behind it. Okay, so if this is not clear, pause the video, rewind, watch over and over until you actually understand. But I believe we are making progress here. So next point, I believe, will be us moving to something else, a little bit more advanced than what we have developed, talked about here. I want us to look at object-oriented design, or maybe software development. Okay, so well done, have a great day.